Garen is a solid melee tank fighter. He can choose to go more damage or more tank. He usually ends up being more of a bruiser, but he has a few different options he can go with. He does a lot of attack damage, he's got great AoE, and he has a very strong silence speed up. Garen excels at doing damage over time, soaking up a lot of damage for his teammates, silencing high priority targets, and also finishing off low HP enemy champions, since his ultimate is a powerful execute. Garen does tend to struggle against ranged champions like Ryze, Teemo, Gnar, and Jace, so avoid picking him against ranged champions in general. In general though, Garen does excel against melee champions. Overall, Garen is a strong pick, and I highly recommend him for anybody who doesn't have a top laner. Since he is only 450 IP, if you don't like him, it's not that big of a deal. At least you tried him and now you know his kit. For your Masteries, you're going to want to go 18 Cunning and 12 in Resolve. Taking Storm Raider Surge is your keystone. It's overall the best keystone to take on Garen. It's going to make you really, really strong whenever you're using your E on an enemy champion, because you'll almost always get the Storm Raider Surge proc. It makes it really easy to chase them down, to run away, and it's also really useful in trades. If you don't want to keep trading with them after you Q and E, you can just run away with your Storm Raider Surge or finish chasing them down and kill them if you so choose. Once you are in there on the enemy champions, the last thing you want is for them to throw a heavy slow on you and then just take you out of the fight that way. This way, with your Storm Raider Surge, it'll help keep you in there. You'll stay on them with your E, and you'll be doing lots of damage and taking lots of damage as well. 80% of the time, I will take 12 points in Resolve instead of Ferocity. Overall, I feel like it gives me more stats and more defense that I need, especially with the runes that we're going to be taking. It goes very well. But if you are in a really easy matchup against a tanky fighter like Maokai, then you can go ahead and go with the 12 in Ferocity and just try to get as many kills as you can. Overall, I don't recommend it, especially if you're going up against a ranged champion. You're going to want to take the 12 in Defense. For your runes, you're going to want to take 9 flat AD marks, 9 scaling per health yellows, 9 magic resist per level scaling blues, and 3 attack damage quints. This is overall going to be the best build for you. It's going to help you apply your Storm Raider Surge. It's also going to give you a lot of defense that you need once you are level 6 and up. And overall, your W will help your early and mid game enough to where these scaling runes will really make a big impact. If for some reason you're unwilling to take Storm Raider Surge for your keystone, I do suggest taking 3 movement speed quints instead of the 3 attack damage quints. For your summoner spells, I suggest Flash and Ignite 9 times out of 10. It's overall going to give you the most kill power, a lot of pressure in lane. You're going to be able to solo people a lot better. However, for the other 1 out of 10 times, I do suggest you taking Teleport and Flash. The reason you want to take Teleport every now and then is whenever you're in a really hard matchup or against a strong ranged champion, if you feel like they're going to keep poking you down, or if you're going to need to roam gank to make up for your losses in lane, you're going to want to take Teleport. But overall, like I said, Ignite's the way to go 9 out of 10 times. Garen's passive is Perseverance. Think of your passive on Garen like Malphite's passive, but instead of getting a shield, you regenerate HP. If you want to see just how hard this scales and what the seconds are, just pause the video and read the ability right here if you're really interested. Overall, your passive isn't that useful in lane. If you're having to use it in lane to heal back your HP, you shouldn't have picked Garen into that matchup. But if you are low on HP, you will have to back up behind your minions and just heal up and try not to get hit by the enemy champion, otherwise it will stop your Perseverance and you'll have to wait another 9 seconds. Try to keep an eye on the timer on Perseverance. Whenever it's about to go down to 0 seconds, back away from the enemy champion so you can start healing again. Unless you're already like full HP, don't worry about it. Late game Perseverance is really nice. If you're ever in a team fight and you kill someone and get out, or you walk away from the team fight and you're low on HP, you can pretty much heal up all your HP in just like a matter of seconds, especially if you have a Warmogs. Garen's Q is Decisive Strike. Immediately, Garen cleanses himself of all souls affecting him and gains 30% bonus movement speed for a couple of seconds. Additionally, your next basic attack within 4.5 seconds deals additional physical damage and silences his target for 1.5 seconds. Overall, this is going to be how you chase people down, how you run away, and it's also really good used for silencing high priority targets because then they can't cast any abilities. It also is an auto attack resetter, so if you're not having to use it to chase someone down or run away, just auto attack and then Q. This way you'll get off the most damages possible as quickly as possible. Whenever your Q is up in lane, try to use it to harass the enemy champion, especially in your first couple of early levels. Once you're both level 3, try to wait till your E is up to use it with your Q. That way, once they're silenced, you can just spin on them and there's nothing they can really do to fight back. If you are playing against a ranged champion, you typically want to Q, then E them. And if they have a lot of HP still, your Storm Raider Surge should have gone off at this point, and then you can just run away if you need to. Garen's W is Courage. It has 2 parts, a passive and an active. Passively, Garen permanently gains bonus armor magic resist each time he kills an enemy unit, so whether it be a minion or an enemy champion. And this stacks up to a maximum of 30 bonus armor and magic resist. This is really nice because it's going to help you stay tanky in lane and be really tanky late game. Actively, Garen reduces incoming damage for 30% for a few seconds. This is really nice. Whenever you go into trade, you hit them with your Q, your E, and then after they come out of their silence and they're going to start blasting with their spells, you immediately hit your W and you take 30% less damage. It's really, really strong in trades. Garen's E is Judgment. Garen spins around in a circle for 3 seconds, damaging all enemies within range of his spin. It's important to note that his spin does an increased 33.3% damage when only damaging one single enemy. So if you're soloing a target, whether it be an enemy champion or a monster, if you spin on it, you'll do 33% more damage if nothing else is being hit by your spin. Your Judgment can also critically strike, which is why sometimes we build some crit items on Garen, usually only one, depending on the circumstance. One of the best part of Judgments is the armor shred. Enemy champions hit by Judgment 4 times have their armor reduced by 25% for 6 seconds. Hits after the 4th refresh the duration of the 6-second debuff. Whenever you're going to use your E on an enemy champion, the best way to get on top of them is to Q first, hit them with your Q, and then while they're silenced, grind them up with your E. At the end of 4 spins, they will be missing 25% of their maximum armor for 6 seconds. So at this point, now when your E is over, you can choose whether you want to stay and fight and do more damage to them. After you've landed your Q on them and your E is now over, odds are they're probably going to turn around and fight you. So this is a good point to use your W. That way you'll take 30% less damage for a couple of seconds. Garen's ultimate is Demacian Justice. It has a passive and an active. Passively, any enemy champion with the most kills in the last 5 minutes is marked as the villain. The mark cannot be assigned to another champion while Garen is in combat with the villain. So if you're fighting someone who's the villain and someone else gets more kills than them, they're still going to be the villain. It's not going to take that away from you. Passively, Garen's basic attacks and each spin of Judgment against the villain deal 1% of their maximum health is bonus true damage. So overall, you're going to be doing a little bit more damage to the villain. And actively, Garen calls upon the might of Demacia to attempt to execute the target. When activated, Garen does a whole bunch of damage. It's a bunch of magic damage, but it is converted into true damage if they are the villain. Also worth mentioning, Garen's ultimate does much more damage the lower on HP the enemy target is. So if the enemy champion has like a quarter health less or less, that's typically when you want to ult them because it will usually be a guaranteed kill. In lane, you want to try to hit level 6 before your opponent. This way you can go in on them with your Q, E, and then after your E's over, usually your ultimate will be enough to kill them as long as they have a quarter health or less. There's typically very little counterplay when you do this because they're silenced for the majority of the duration. And then even after once your E's over, if they decide, hey, I want to flash or get out of here, if they flash or dash away, if you've clicked your ultimate on them and if they were in range when you clicked it, it still falls on them and they die. Your level 1 combo is pretty much just auto attack Q. That's only if they're melee and they're coming up to you. That way you just auto attack and Q them. So you can just keep fighting them if you feel like you'll win. Or after you Q them, you can just run away since you'll be really fast anyways and they'll be silenced. Once you are level 2, your combo is just going to be Q then E. Once again, if they are melee, you can auto attack then Q then E. But if you're having to chase them down, you're going to have to Q, E. Once you are level 3, your combo will be Q, E, and then at the very end of your E, once you've decided you either want to fight or run away, and if you feel like they're going to turn and do damage on you, you're going to want to click your W, that way you'll take 30% less for a couple of seconds. Once you're level 6, you're going to go in on them with your Q, E, and then if they do turn to do damage on you, you'll activate your W. Regardless, after your Q and E are over, if they are a quarter of health or less, you're typically going to ult. If you don't quite have enough damage to kill them, you can either back off or try to get off an auto attack before you ult, and that should be a kill. In lane phase, auto attack the minions to last hit them. Try to get level 2 before your enemy does, so keep auto attacking the minions non-stop. At level 1, if the enemy champion gets close enough for you to auto attack them and then Q. If you feel like you can still beat them, just keep fighting them. Otherwise, after you've queued them, just run away. Once you're level 2, you need to keep applying pressure. Take your E immediately and then QE them. Just keep doing it and you'll wear down their health and mana. You will wear them down because you have a healing passive, plus you don't use any mana and you have a lot of damage with your silence and speed up, so they really can't trade with you. Once you are level 3, you can go in for braver trades, just QE, and then after the silence and your spin are over and you know they're going to turn on you, just immediately hit your W, and you should win all your trades in lane that way. Just keep applying pressure on them, and once you're level 6, you should just be able to go in, combo them, ultimate, and get a kill. In lane phase, be weary of ganks. Make sure you're using your warding totem, because junglers like to gank Garen, since Garen typically does play aggressive and he is melee, so he's a fairly easy kill. Whenever you are running away with Garen, and if they have a slow, wait till they use the slow on you and then Q. That way you'll completely negate their slow and you'll still be sped up. If you Q before they use their slow, then not only will you have wasted your Q, but you'll also be slowed. If you do it the other way around, you'll be sped up and their slow will be wasted. If you took teleport on Garen and you can't get a kill in lane, try to shove out your lane and then teleport gank. Otherwise, just stay in lane with your knight and try to get a kill. If you did take ignite and you still can't get a kill for some reason, roam mid and try to get a kill that way. In team fights on Garen, you need to decide if you're going to be the tank or the peeler. If you don't have a real tank on your team, so if you're the only tank, you're going to have to just go in there and take up as much damage as possible. If you have tanks on your team and you don't have anyone to peel for your AD carry, then you might consider staying next to your AD carry mid laner and defending them if they are hyper carrying you. Otherwise, you want to get in there, just use your Q, your E, and whenever the enemies start throwing a lot of crap at you, a lot of abilities and ultimates, activate your W and you'll take a lot less damage. And look for enemies who are low on HP. Even if they are a tank, if they're below a quarter HP, if you ult them, they'll probably die. So keep an eye out for low HP enemies to finish them off with your ultimate. If the enemies cluster up and you have the opportunity to spin on them all, Q, flash in, and then E on top of all of them. Make sure your teammates are nearby so that way they can back you up. Garen struggles playing against enemy teams that have a lot of snares, roots, and stuns because he has no way to get out of them. He can only negate slows with his Q. So avoid picking Garen into high CC teams since he is melee and he's most likely going to get snared or rooted if the enemy team does possess a snare or root. Also, in lane phase, avoid picking Garen into ranged enemies. Things like Jace, Ryze, Teemo, and Gnar will usually tear Garen up pretty hard. So don't first pick Garen, pick him, but feel free to pick him whenever the enemy team picks a melee top laner. Garen's usually a pretty safe pick if that is the case. For your starting items on Garen, you have two choices. You have Doran Shield 1 pot, or you can take Cloth Armor 4 pot. If it's a tough matchup, go with the Cloth 4, otherwise Doran Shield 1 pot is a better deal. For Garen's core items, we're looking at Sunfire, Black Cleaver, and Spirit Vestige. If you're playing against an AD top laner, go Sunfire first. If you're playing against an AP, go Spirit Vestige first. And for your second item, go for the Black Cleaver. It's going to give you a lot of damage, HP, and CDR. For your optional items, we're looking at Thornmail, Guardian Angel, Deadman's Plate, Warmog, Randuin's, Infinity Edge, Sterix Gauge, Yomu's, ZZ Rot, and Banshee's Veil. Personally, I don't build Sterix Gauge or Yomu's on Garen. I typically don't get ZZ Rot either, unless they have a lot of AP, or Banshees unless they have a lot of AP. For my optional items, I usually go with Thornmail, Guardian Angel, Deadman's, Warmog, or Randuin's. I'll get Randuin's if they have a lot of crits on their team. Go for Thornmail if you're playing against a ranged top laner typically. That you'll get that for your first or second item if you're playing against like a Vayne. Guardian Angel's usually a good 4th or 5th item on Garen. It gives you a lot of armor and magic resist, so if they have a good blend, getting Guardian isn't bad. If you want some more movement speed or you just don't want to build your tier 2 boots yet, you can go for Deadman's your second item or your first item. Going for Warmogs is typically a better 4th item on Garen than a 3rd item. For your optional boots, you're pretty much just looking at Merc Treads or Ninja Tabby. Those are the only boots you really want to build. No other boot on Garen is going to give you the tankiness you need or the utility you need. Going for Swifties isn't really worth it since we have Storm Raider Surge, so we don't really need that bonus movement speed anyways. Here are 2 item builds that I think are pretty balanced. If you're going against an AP team, I would usually pick the one on top. If you're going against a more AD team, I'd pick the one on bottom. Very balanced, lots of health, solid damage. And that is going to wrap up this Garen guide. Thank you all so much for sticking with me to the end. I really do appreciate it. If you did enjoy this video and you want me to make more like it, go ahead and subscribe and leave a like. It helps me out a lot. Also, if there's anything in specific that you liked or want me to do differently, let me know down in the comments below. I really do enjoy reading guys' comments and reading your feedback. Once again, thank you all so much for watching and good luck out there on the Rift.